right, you primitive screwheads, listen up. Boomstick! Boomstick! Primitive screwhead. Boomstick! Primitive screwhead. Boomstick! Listen up.
Welcome to Ash
versus
Evil Dead. All right, let's try it again.
Are you ready? I'm going to throw you some curveballs. You ready?
Okay, right.
Okay.
Welcome to Ash
Versus Evil
Dead
versus
Bubba versus
Catfish.
Yeah, groovy, baby.
All right.
Things are falling apart, just like they are in the world of Ash versus Evil Dead. Things are falling apart on the Ash versus Evil Dead versus Bubba versus Catfish podcast.
Drifting apart.
Episode 8, Season 3.
Yes.
I think it's become blatantly clear we might as well just get people excited. The final season of Ash vs. Evil Dead.
Maybe.
I am your host, Catfish.
Hey.
You can hit me up at CJGman67. And like Dullton, who will never die, my partner is Bubba. Bubba, where can people hit you up at?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, at Fit and Trim. That's FITTENTRIM. At Fit and Trim on YouTube.
Love it. All right, so
Yeah.
there's a lot to talk about this week. Wow, that's your homage to Painthead?
Well, no.
From today's episode?
A couple episodes ago, they had one, Tales from the Rift instead of Tales from the Crypt, and so I tried my Crypt Keeper.
Oh, that was your Rift
podcast.
That was your Rift Keeper.
And so, because I love that laugh so much, I'm just going to keep doing it throughout this show.
Perfect. I think you should do it on all of our podcasts. Just a quick reminder for those of you who are listening to the Ash vs. Evil Dead podcast. We're also doing a podcast right now on The Terror, which you can find if you search wherever you find your podcasts. There's the all-encompassing Double P podcast network. That's where we're covering The Terror, a podcast we refer to as Ice Cold. A lot of people are loving that show and watching it, and I wish some of those people were watching this show.
You mean Ash vs. Evil Dead, because Catfish, you were joking about this probably being the last season, and that's because, look at these ratings.
It wasn't a joke.
Oh.
It was sadly not a joke.
Oh,
The last episode had 136,000 viewers. This is so sad. And sadder than that, last time we talked about this, I said that Bruce Campbell said, you know what, if we don't have another season, maybe we'll just do another movie.
Right.
Now, about 4 weeks ago at some show he was giving some panel he was giving a talk on. I don't know whether he was doing this to get more people to watch or to download, but he said, you know what, if there's not another season, I'm not going to do another movie. I grow a lot of lavender at home, and I'll just stay at home and smoke weed. That was what he said.
Whoa.
So I don't know if he's just bitter or upset, but we should have heard through the middle of March. It doesn't take a genius to...
Good, because I'm not a genius.
Listen to the silence from Starz and to look at the week-to-week numbers.
Oh, man.
And
Now,
think that we've only got 3 or maybe 2 episodes left.
Catfish, let me jump in, and people are able to download this show early. So maybe there's a chance, and I put chance in quotation marks, chance that the download numbers are good. The people, for whatever reason, aren't watching live, but they're catching it up days later. But those numbers, 136,000 viewers actually tuning in when it actually appears on Starz.
I don't understand.
That is so low. It's almost unfathomable.
Because we're getting almost 180,000 downloads of Ash vs. Evil Dead podcast every week.
People subscribe that much just so they can unsubscribe. They're like, how can I teach Bubba and Catfish a lesson and unsubscribe?
All right, well, we have got a lot to get through this week. Every week on Ash vs. Evil Dead versus Bubba versus Catfish podcast, we do a lot of things. We have a lot of recurring things people love or people hate, but they still get them no matter what. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to give our rating for tonight's episode, Rifting Apart.
Love it.
Bubba?
Yeah.
I am going to give this episode 6.5.
Whoa.
Triple B's.
Triple B's?
Yeah, badass Brujo boy.
Aw, Pablo.
That's what Pablo's turned into.
But 6.5 Catfish.
El Cuervo Especial.
Very low. Very low.
It's not as low as I've been this
season.
This
true.
season. I feel like we've only got a couple episodes left, and I just didn't. This one was very plot oriented, not as much fun. And then also we spent all this time to go into the upside down world, as you call it. Mm-hmm. But we left somebody there. So now we're going to have to go back to
Dullton?
We did leave Dullton there. We did find out some interesting things, which we'll cover in our viewer feedback. We got a lot of good viewer feedback commenting on kind of what this means, the upside down world, as far as what happens there. You know, the other thing I just didn't like was It just wasn't as much fun.
I agree. It was not a fun laugh riot episode. In some ways, it wasn't very tense because you knew Ash wasn't going to die. There are 2 episodes left in this season. You didn't imagine that Brandy would die again after the emotional trauma of her dying last episode. And with Kelly/Kelikaya still out there, what danger was there? So there were a lot of strikes against this episode, but guess what? I'm going pretty high.
What are you going to go?
For something so predictable, I'm going to go...
I'm curious.
9 triple R's.
9?
Triple R's.
Oh, of course, the triple R's. Well, now that you've said triple R, everyone knows what that is.
Ruh-roh Rift.
Oh.
There was something almost pleasing in its predictability. There was something almost kind of enjoyable in understanding how the beats went. I was the one who last week said, boy, this looks like the Upside Down. Yeah, it really, I mean, for all intents and purposes, it is the Upside Down from Stranger Things. For all intents and purposes, watching the episode, I kept thinking, well, they didn't want to build another set. That's why you enter the movie theater and suddenly it's the bar. That's why you go here and suddenly it's the sperm bank. But there was something just enjoyable about it, and I can't say what it was. There weren't funny lines. There weren't many scares even. But it was an enjoyable lark. And maybe I'm most happy because Zoe survived another episode.
Oh,
so
yes.
Defense Attorney Bubba wins again. But I just enjoyed it. I didn't laugh. I didn't get too frightened. But I did have a smile on my face the whole time through. And so, call me crazy. We're kind of like rifting apart between our views. This is great.
Well, the one thing that I wonder if you had a problem with, it didn't bog me down too much. There were so many other things, but I thought there was an established way in which Pablo could send people into the Upside Down.
Oh yeah, no,
without having to kill somebody. I was like, wait a second. I thought we
just
knew
a
how
couple
to do
episodes
this.
ago. You opened the rift. Nobody died there, Pablo. What?
Well, not true. The guy who went in
when he came back,
he came back. Yeah. So there was no talk about, hey, I'll just send you this way and then get you back.
Nah.
There was no talk about Pablo bringing people back. I guess he was just supposed to bring people back. But I guess that didn't bother you too much.
I don't know why. I was just... There was something about this episode. Maybe because even though I'm not sure we've had a great episode since episode 5, right in the midpoint, where we had that true gonzo stuff with the hitchhiker. But once again, I think what I've always been asking for the show is to kind of have a plot that builds and builds and builds. And based on what they laid down earlier in this season, this was the natural progression. And so, once again, I watched the whole episode with a smile on my face. I enjoyed it. It does need to get back to the true gonzo for me to go, for me to really almost not have a nostalgic happiness about this episode. But I really liked it. I want to hear what our double L's, our loyal listeners, I want to hear what you guys think. Go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/double-P podcast. That's the word double, the single letter P, the word podcast, plural, facebook.com/double-P podcast. And tell us if you're on Catfish's side, like this was just kind of once again, a non-gonzo, wacky line episode, and so you were frustrated, or if you were like me, you're like, okay, let's just grow. Let's just take where this roller coaster has been leading us and see where it goes.
You know what I realized this week, Bubba, is I seemed to be out of sync with all the people, our double L's, our loyal listeners, who've been giving me feedback. And I realized, you know who I'm more in sync with? The people who have decided to stop watching it this year.
Oh, man.
So you know what? I'm still watching, but more people agree with me.
Oh, no. Now, Catfish.
Yeah.
We should say that...
We should say.
We love Ash vs. Evil Dead.
Of course,
we love this
obviously.
world. We're spending this time doing this podcast.
I mean, we went to go see Bruce Campbell do this. I don't even know how you would describe it. What was the thing
His
we saw
game
him
show.
do? Well, it was a game show, live game show format that that this group has lots of people come in and do different things, and so it was pretty much kind of a who's the know-it-all, last fan standing. So they bring in somebody from a certain area, and a person who's associated with it, in this case Bruce Campbell, asks questions about the world. In this case, about the Ash versus Evil Dead world. He
also did several other in this genre, though, kind of horror and kind of sci-fi slash.
And so it's funny. It wasn't really a discussion from him. There was a very brief conversation.
Oh, yeah.
And then mostly he was
riffing.
He was busting people's chops. It was great. It was like to have the real live Ash, and instead he just bust your chops, but without chainsawing you. So since you were just talking about our loyal listeners, let's get into some of our loyal listener feedback.
Ooh.
Now, I don't want to ruin it yet, but later on we have got something great from one of our loyal listeners, something you've been asking for, and I have not been able to deliver. And so this loyal listener...
They sent us cash. I've been asking for cash for so long. This is great. Thank you.
Here, I've got $1 for you. Okay, now, now, so you're not upset about no cash from our listener.
No.
We have something special from a listener later on, a special surprise.
Okay.
But we do have some amazing feedback.
Yeah, we do. And,
some of which I'll get into now.
Yeah, some hold off because some's about our trial last week, our versus Bubba versus Catfish court case.
Woof, which was a barn burner again last week. So one of our biggest loyal listeners and someone who it would be nice to have on the show next season is Scott Pike.
Scott Pike!
Who gave us some great feedback on our Facebook page. He gave the episode 10 out of 10 chainsaws.
Whoa.
He's more along with you.
Huh.
The last episode was really, I think, listening to his ratings from the season, last week's episode was the one he was lowest on. I don't think he's been below 9 except for last week's 7.
Okay.
He says, we can see that one theory is confirmed. Anyone who's killed by the evil possessed while they're being killed gets stuck in this underworld.
Okay,
but he says he's glad his theory was confirmed, but it also means a lot of people who died aren't just dead, but have had their souls either consumed or dragged by the black thing down to hell.
Ouch.
All the people from the first 3 movies that died, and everyone who's died since then during Ash's and his group's wacky adventures. Now, just as an aside here...
Okay.
I was first wondering, okay, what happened? So they die, and then I saw that girl die, and I thought, so she died twice? And then Dullton later on says, I think the next stop is hell.
He doesn't know.
So, I mean, whatever, you just hang out here for a little while. Now, he says there's a new frightening possibility.
Uh-oh.
Is that everyone who ever dies...
Everyone, even if they're not killed by deadites, they're just everybody.
So he said that may be a reason that Ruby's so keen to keep her immortality, because this is the only alternative to mortality is eventually ending up here in this horrible place.
Yeah, Deer Meadow.
Right.
Excuse me, Elk Grove. Elk Point. What is it again?
Elk Grove.
Elk Grove. Okay.
He does say also we had a triple D.
Triple D?
Yeah, Dullton double dead.
Oh, man, it's the best triple D. Good work, Scott Pike.
He said he'd also like to congratulate Pablo for finally having a scene where he has to face evil alone and defeat it alone, because it's always been some other force that saved him. But now he is El Brujo Especial.
Oh, yes, for sure.
So that was, Scott Pike sent us a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah,
So I would suggest, if you want to get into all of it very detailed, go to our Facebook page.
Oh, yeah.
Double P Podcasts. And you can see his comments there and leave your own.
Yeah, now, comment back to Scott, because I think Scott, maybe with this 10 out of 10, maybe he's trying to get you riled up, Catfish, since you've been kind of tough on this episode.
He's only got a few more episodes to rile me up. Rile away, Scott Pike. Rile away. All right. So now that we've read some of our loyal listener feedback, we have a couple of recurring bits we do. And they are, when I say bit, I mean they're tiny, and they are. One of them is our groovy line of the week.
Oh, boy.
So, Bubba, it's the line that most represents the chutzpah and the smirky attitude of Ash.
Great, because I that's what this episode needed to get a 10 out of 10 from me.
There's some funny things he says, like when Kelly says you got your hand back, and he says, yeah, it's kind of weird how often that happens. That was a funny bit.
That was a knowing wink to the audience.
Right, there's another knowing wink to the audience when Kelly says, I'm always happy to see that an indestructible blue shirt come to the rescue. Another knowing wink to the audience. Now, he said something, and also Kelly does say something smart too. He says, I got a plan. She's like, you have a plan? She knows
that
it.
was
Like,
good
what
delivery.
plan do you have? He's
Good
like, well, sort of.
Hold on. Can I say my groovy line of the week?
Yeah.
My groovy line of the week, and I wrote this down because it was so funny, is when Ash said, Ruby killed her, and now some demon's taken over her body.
Oh, my God.
Was that funny or what?
No, not really.
Wait, what? Well, you've never liked Brandy. So you didn't laugh when he's like, Ruby won? Ruby took over her body?
No, he has a funny line that I still don't understand where he says, talking about the Delta, he says, this sweet baby has bailed me out of more jams than a fistful of lube on a Saturday night. I'm not quite sure what that means, but my grooviest line of the week was, to save those two, I would submit to a prostate exam. Again, these are just not the best. All right, so now we have our Deadite of the week.
Oh, yeah.
And who is your Deadite of the week? The creepiest, weirdest, undead / partially dead / dead in one place and not in another place. Who's your Deadite of the week, Bubba?
Well, I'll give you a hint. Mm-hmm. Their name begins with D.
Is it Dullton?
No, it's not Dullton.
Oh.
Dullton got dragged to hell,
theoretically,
and we'll never see him again.
Yeah.
My Deadite of the week begins with D. Got dragged to hell, but came roaring out of hell like a bat out of hell from Meatloaf. It's the Delta! The Delta is my Deadite of the week. He got dragged to hell, and you thought, there's no way. That's the end of the episode. Nope. Delta, bat out of hell action. The Delta in the Upside Down, my Deadite of the week. Oh, the best Deadite ever.
So good. Now, I thought you were going to say Dullton, but that wouldn't have been the right answer anyway.
Okay.
The right answer is, and I don't know his name, we see him only for a minute.
All right. The kid.
It's the new sheriff of Elk Grove.
Oh, wait a minute.
Not the deputy, the new sheriff of Elk Grove. He shows up for a minute. He's taking charge. He takes so much charge, we don't have to see him after that because he's in the background, charge taking.
And you know what's great is he's like, I want to close the county. We're going to find this Ash Williams. The one place they would never look is his hardware store.
Well, you know, the other place where they went to look is 50 feet away, where Ash is right at that moment.
No, he wouldn't stay at the scene of the crime. Come on.
Well, there you go. All right, so let's go into this episode now, rifting apart and break it down bit by exciting bit as far as you're concerned and not so exciting bit as far as I'm concerned.
And since we're getting to the episode, can I just go ahead and say, I loved the very first shot of the episode, this bloody shoe. We assume it's Brandy's bloody shoe. It's just laying there. I also loved what may not seem natural to the show, but showing us the delicious steaks. You see the scene of all these stretchers pulling out these body bags, and it's trying to give this some emotional weight. Now, Catfish, last week, the AV Club didn't give that episode last week too high a rating. You have been tough on Brandy all year, but there have been some people, some online publications that have loved it. Wasn't there something like Making Ash a Dad is like the greatest thing?
The greatest thing that's ever happened.
Yeah, do you remember which publication was that? IO9? Who did that?
I believe it was IO9, yeah.
And so I'm not sure that's totally true, that everything with Brandy's worked. But this emotional weight, showing actual teenage bodies being pulled out, it's so different from the show, and yet it feels so real. Maybe the fact that it just ground us so much in what a reality would be like if some massacre occurred at a high school. Then once again, I was just all in. I was just willing to go wherever this episode went. I love it.
Well, it's interesting because I thought because it's so ridiculous that we're able to not, I thought, any more serious, and it would have been a real problem considering the things that have happened in schools.
Oh, yeah.
So I think the less serious, the better, and they got perilously close here to bringing us close enough to life to make it a real downer here.
And Ash is trying to display some emotions. He is like, hey, I couldn't save my daughter. Ruby won. And I think that actually helps. They didn't deal with it too long. You're right, this is supposed to be a fun show. But those moments I did like.
And we find out something else here, which I think I would like to keep our court case for this week, is apparently Ash is aware, unlike what loyal listener Patman said, Ash is aware of the phrase New York Minute. So in Ash's head, he has a understanding of a New York Minute and an understanding of a Branson Minute.
He also remembers Professor Nobi. Mm-hmm. And now, did you remember this fact that Nobi said something like, "Oh, my soul is trapped," or whatever Nobi said that theoretically Ash remembered?
I didn't remember it, and I almost wonder whether they made it up for the show, and that makes me a bad Ash versus Evil Dead acolyte.
That's been true for quite a long time.
It's another reason why I, even though I love it, am not as fully versed as, say, for example, Scott Pike is in the whole backstory of this series.
Now, the one thing about the Upside Down, and I keep calling it the Upside Down, listeners, I understand this is the rift between our world and the underworld, but the reason why I keep calling it the Upside Down, and one thing I like about it, and it really made me think, is if everybody ended up here, how many people could Ash save? You know, Ash, at the end of Season 2, got this ridiculous parade where they're like, "Oh, we love you, Ash. We love you, Ash." If Ash was able to bring back pretty much everybody that died this season, including all these kids, Ash really would be a hero. Admittedly, he's not going to be able to bring back everybody because it seems these hands from hell come up and want to drag you down.
And it seems, whether due to financial constraints or just how effective these hands are, it doesn't seem like people last very long in this in-between world. They don't need to go and send cleanup crews. People are there for a very short period of time before they get dragged down.
What do you think this creature, this shadow creature is, this smog creature is, that kind of stands as this demon? Is that a dark one?
Well,
he's dark.
Did it look very
it's
bright?
It's dark. So is that what the dark ones are?
I believe that is the dark one.
Wow.
That is a dark one, not the dark one.
Have we ever seen one like this before?
No, we have not seen one like this before. I would say it's still not as creepy as Ruby's children from last year. I think those were the creepiest baddies we've had.
Okay. And they grabbed this one
except for Elagos.
Yeah, give Elagos his due.
He was awesome.
So it turns out that Brandy's being put in the back of this coroner's van with another girl, the girl who we saw the dark one hands, we assume, dragged down to hell. Now, help me out. So you couldn't turn into a Deadite until you were killed, and then your soul got dragged down to hell by the dark ones, and that's when your body can become a Deadite? Because that seems to happen with this girl who was dressed there for the winter formal and later attacks your boy Pablo.
That seems to be what's happening to me, unless you are Brujo Especial, in which case you maybe go to this realm, but you've got your own private room in the realm where Uncle shows up and Triple F.
Triple F?
Forgetful Full Frontal.
Oh, her. Good old... What was her name? Her name was like Maritza or something.
You know, one thing we didn't talk about, I just curious kind of behind the scenes thing. Do you think they tried to have the actress playing Kelly do another accent and she couldn't do it because they're clearly dubbing her, and so far we've seen so little of the actual real Kaya that it would seem to make more sense to have Kelly use her voice and then put that over when we see Kaya.
Well,
right?
if I'm the demon Kaya, I want my voice out there. I don't want...
What I'm saying is to have the actress Kelly do the proper British herself instead of actually being dubbed by someone else, because we don't actually see a real human being voice Kaya so far.
You telling me that this ain't my real British voice? Step in time, step in time, step in time, step in time. Never need a reason, never need a rhyme. Up the major, step in time.
A spoonful of Deadite helps the brandy go down.
So Brandy seems to be pulled over by our boy Dullton. Dullton didn't do too well as a Knight of Samaria, but he does seem to have a way around this rift. He knows his way around, and he does seem to save Brandy from being out in the streets where, quote-unquote, it's easier for this demon dark one to find you and drag you down.
What I like about Dullton is no matter what realm he's in, he's always comfortable on his knees.
That was a good moment, Catfish. Go up in your ranking. You don't think it was funny when he drops down to his knees? That was pretty funny. I liked it a lot. Now, he says that if you go into the theater, which the marquee is showing Slasher Saturday, he says the monster, quote-unquote, we're calling a dark one, is unlikely to get you in there. Why do you think a monster wouldn't want to go into this slasher theater?
Because this monster hates it when he goes to the movies and people are chatting or texting or whatever. So he's decided to boycott them for now.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to drag them down to hell because then he's like, oh, God, all these people texting and talking. I can't enjoy any peace.
No, exactly. He's like, I remember the old days.
Olden times. So Ash, Pablo, they realize, let's get to the rift. While this is going on, we're cross-cutting with Dullton trying to get Brandy into the safety of someplace. Of course, then the dead one appears right outside the movie theater. Dullton pulls them down into an alleyway. This was, to me, the most tense, the most action-packed little moment. Is Dullton's like,
I knew what Dullton was trying here.
Yeah, get a girl
trying to
in
get
an
Brandy
alley.
alone,
Me Too moment for Brandy. That's terrible. But Dullton, he's going, where is this monster? And who is the jump scare pop out? It's not the monster. It's Kelly. And so, hey, the gang's back together. Okay, they're not alive, but we can still have the adventures here, right? Let's have a whole season here in the Rift.
Right? And what's amazing about it is we've got time for a love triangle.
Oh, man.
Dullton.
Are you implying...
Brandy.
Oh, Dullton, Brandy, and Kelly.
Yes.
Sorry, I thought you were meant when Dullton gives a goodbye kiss to Kelly. That Kelly kiss. Whoa, that's going to make Pablo say, okay, Dark One, strike this jerk down.
So Kelly's got no plan either. They're just going to...
So they need someone to rescue them who has a quote-unquote plan. Somebody who has a plan. What exactly outside of I'm going to go to the Rift was Ash's plan, Catfish?
Nothing. This is look, as far as I know, Ash has had one decent plan in the entirety of the movies in the series.
What was that?
And that was to swallow the pet tracker. And then the rest of the Ghost Beaters could follow him to battle Ball.
Oh, heck yeah. So, Catfish, let's get to the part where they have to decide, and I'm talking about Pablo and Ash in the basement of the hardware store, how they're going to get Ash into the Rift. And
Pablo puts his hand on the rift and opens it up. Is that right?
That was the way we do it a couple episodes ago. Nobody remembers that way.
All right.
Yeah, so I assume...
Well, we didn't question last week either when he saw Kelly there, when Pablo saw Kelly and was like, oh, God, I don't know what to do. Does Pablo need other people? Did he need the Knights of Sumeria to help him out?
Have you ever considered that Pablo's like, all these people keep ruining my life. If I can convince Ash to kill himself, I'll be free from it.
Well, I mean, don't you think he'd be worried, though?
Pablito's fish and chips can expand into this empty hardware store.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Without the draw of the Williams hardware store, I don't think people will show up for Pablo's fish and chips.
You saw that line at the one time it was open this season.
Yeah, because there was spillover from the grand opening of the hardware store.
So, get to it, Catfish. Why were you so upset that somehow this ridiculous plan included, hey, let's stab the dagger right through your heart there, Ash. Oh, boy, this was rather ridiculous.
Well, did I miss something? In this discussion here, does Pablo or Ash say, okay, and then when I get them, you bring me back?
Yeah, how exactly does that work? That you bring me back? I'm a bit lost on that, too.
I think he opens up the portal.
How did he open up the portal? Did he kill somebody else? Oh, maybe that's the paint mixing death.
I mean, the thing is, if you can open up the portal to bring him back, open up the portal to send him.
Are you crazy? That doesn't seem logical. No, you have to kill to get into the portal.
Okay.
You know what? You've never been to the Rift. Maybe you just leave it to the experts.
I will leave it to the pro rifters.
So how did it feel, Catfish? You've been following this series. When did you see your first Evil Dead movie? What year?
Oh, come on.
Because has it been 30 years? Because how did it feel after 30 years to see Ash take a dagger right to the heart? Youch!
I mean, you think that's the worst thing I've seen happen to Ash?
Oh, actually, you're saying a dagger straight to the heart actually one of the better things, you know?
Yeah, that's nothing.
Ash does it after some little, you stab me. Okay, I'll stab you. No, I'll stab me. No, you stab me.
It is good here because I feel like this is a real, if I was going to really buy the whole father-daughter thing, the fact that he, sacrifices himself is interesting.
Yeah, come on. And I put a note in my notes that this is only 12 minutes into the episode. Ash is dead. It's like, we don't have time in these half-hour shows for filler. 12 minutes in, our hero is dead. Let's roll.
And then, even though this was the grand plan, I will say one more time. Perhaps
plan,
before you do it, can we get to the part of how we'll all come back?
When you say grand plan, I think they talked about this plan for 30 seconds.
Well, it's a half-hour show. Like you said, they got...
Well, how grand can it be? But Ash, it does work. He ends up in the green-tinted lens, the green-tinted land, known as the Upside Down in Stranger Things. But he ends up in the sperm bank. All together now. No, actually, he's not in the sperm bank. He first ends up in the basement of the hardware store.
Right, which naturally would lead right to the sperm bank.
That's the way it is. How do you like dead Ash? Do you like that, this is his plan? He goes, he then exits one door, and because this is a weird kind of psychedelic realm, he does end up in the sperm bank. Meanwhile, back in our existence, the body that he thought was supposed to be Brandy, Pablo's looking at it. Uh-oh, it's not here. Oh, snap.
Ash forgot to check.
That didn't make too much sense. He took the exact, when he pulled him out of the corner van, he pulled the body that was on the side that Brandy had been on earlier. So somehow in the ride to the hardware store, the two dead bodies flip sides as to where they were.
There you go.
Now, what I was upset about, Ash thinks he's leaving the sperm bank. He suddenly ends up in the bar where all the rest of the ghost beaters are. But I wanted him to enter in holding those magazines from the sperm bank. Like if he was like, well, if I'm here in the rift, I'm going to spank one out here for a second.
Well, I don't know. Would he do it for free? Or would he just carry the bottle with him back into the real world?
And as you said, Ash has his hand back. So does this mean when I die, I'm going to have my baby teeth back? I'm going to have my hair back? Like everything you lose is going to be back when you die?
Wow. Where would you want to keep your baby teeth? Would you be like a shark and have 2 rows of teeth?
Heck yeah. Take that, Rift World.
All right. Do it.
And it was funny when Dullton got on his knees. Come on, you laughed at that. I laughed at that. That's a good little moment there, Catfish.
All right. If you say so. If you say I laughed at it, then I did.
Okay. And then you decided to say that Brandy should go out with Bubba, since both their names begin out with B, and Kelly should join in as well. A love triangle between them and me. That was so great of you to say that,
I didn't remember that part
I
either.
love you saying that.
So, yes. So then they've got a plan which involves...
Yes.
The thing that is probably most important to Ash, really, in the entire world.
His daughter, Brandy?
No, it's Delta.
Oh, okay. So they exit out of what they think is the bar, and then they enter into the sperm bank. They enter what looks like the back room of a sperm bank. Suddenly they're outside in the streets there in Elk Grove, and out of a store called Modern Racks, women's clothing, women's fashion.
I do like that's a funny bit.
But you didn't laugh at that. That's what's funny. You laughed at the Dullton on his knees part. As soon as they step outside, who's there but our evil friend, the Dark One?
Oh, I thought you were going to say the Delta.
Also, our good Deadite of the week, the Delta. There doesn't seem to be too much thought process in if we drive over this shadow. This demon looks like it's made out of smoke. How exactly are you going to run it down with the Delta? Crazy.
I don't know, but all I know is that Dullton...
Yeah.
Do you think it was Dullton stealing a kiss from Kelly or Kelly stealing a kiss from Dullton?
No, that was all Dullton, but it was a much better kiss than she gave to Pablo.
Well, she would have given Pablo a better kiss, but he had other stuff to do.
Right. He's like, not now, woman.
And then later on he claimed it was awesome probably because... But it's probably true that the kiss that Pablo shared with Kelly was the best kiss Pablo's ever had.
Man, you are not nice to Pablito.
Listen, I love Pablito. You're the one who's always trying to get him killed.
Yeah. How is it he's the only one who's not dead?
You want him out of... What are you talking about?
I should be ranking this low.
He was in 2. Everyone's died in this show, but he was the only one who was in 2 parts.
Did you shed a tear? Should we pour one out the second time for Dullton?
No.
Dullton has died so many times on the show, it's getting to be a bit ridiculous.
I poured it out already for Dullton. And now, what I was surprised is the, I mean, we've seen this kind of thing before. And, of course, when you saw the tracking shot on the street after the Delta went down, you knew it was going to come back up. That was one bit of fun ridiculousness.
Yeah, well, you didn't find these creepy webbed hands that come out and pull the Delta down and pull Dullton down? You don't find them fun and scary and creepy?
I do. Why do you think I gave it a whole 6.5?
Oh, geez. Good grief. But why, if you're Ash, why don't you rescue all these other kids from the winter ball? Why not say, hey, kids, everybody in the Delta?
There's not enough room in the Delta.
Oh, my gosh. He could have been a true hero and saved all these dead high school kids. But no, he's only concerned about his friends. Not cool.
Now, Dullton shows how he's Dumpton, where he tries to distract the one dark one, and the dark one's like, I don't need to come over there. I'm just going to let all the other hands drag you down.
Right, I got so many hands.
Thanks a lot, Dumpton. That's his new name, Dumpton.
Dumped into hell. But does this tell you how many dark ones there are? Are all these hands, a set of hands equals one dark one? Does that mean they're like 30
Well,
or 40?
I do believe there's a lot of them. I feel like there's like a council of dark ones that gets duly elected like once every 3 months. Maybe there's only 3 or 4 of them.
We need a quorum of dark ones.
But no, just a quorum on the council.
But I'm saying, why did Ash rescue these other kids? These are kids who he's pretty much responsible for killing.
Why is he responsible? He wasn't the one who killed them. It was bad Ash.
He brought this evil into the world so many times with his drunk.
Look, you can't make him
from the
responsible
Necronomicon.
for. You can't. It wasn't drunk. He was stoned. Focus. Get it right. He was smoking some really nasty weed.
Now, the dark one doesn't want to get run over by my dead eye of the week, Dullton. So the dark one just kind of vanishes, disappears back into the street, back into the realms of hell, you would almost assume from the way it went down.
Yeah, it's scared. Does it turn out that the true Hefe is actually the Delta?
Yeah.
Because just because Ash was driving,
El Delta Especial.
It should have been able to escape.
So they, in this netherworld, in this upside down, 3 of our heroes run back to the hardware store basement, and they're like, hey, where's Pablo? Pablo goofing around with a deadite. Just get it over with, Pablo. And Pablo, how do you ever lose hold of the dagger? This is so stupid. You know, how about just put a handle on the damn thing? How about put a wrist guard on?
Oh, like a little rope.
Yeah, for God's sakes. But that said,
I mean, they can manage to do it on gaming consoles,
right?
So when you get excited, you don't lose them.
Yeah, you didn't love the way Pablo finally took care of this deadite all on his own with the paint mixing. I thought that was a great way to do,
because I thought he did a real good color match. You know, it's hard to get a color match. You bring in a paint chip to the store, and it's hard for them to match it. But then somehow the ghost of Ash appears in a commercial.
Yep.
This one, a very short commercial that says, get your ass down here.
15-second local ad. Yeah, that's a lot of money. You don't want to spend too much money on an ad.
Right, and so then he is going to do the thing where he puts his hands on the wall and it opens up the
Never
portal.
Seen this before. This is brand new. I have never seen this move before.
Now, it's funny that I didn't even think about this until now, but it makes sense. Somebody is inhabiting Kelly's body. So,
Me?
Of course, Kelly... Oh, my God. All right. Moving on. Kelly can't come back. There's a force field. Something's already in her body. And so because she's so repulsed by what's in her body, she can't get back in it.
Hold on. But a jerk. And so Ash, despite having a wound in his chest where he got stabbed, he's suddenly fine. Is he living with this wound in his chest? What do you think? Do you think somehow coming back from the rift allowed that wound to be completely healed and non-existent? Explain the science behind this Catfish.
Yeah, there's a lot of science behind it. Junk science.
But we do need our hero back in this realm.
And you know what it is? Maybe the answer is, as Kelly said, his indestructible blue shirt, because that doesn't even have a hole in it. Right where he got knifed, his shirt is fine again. So then he goes to grab Brandy, but while he says, "Okay, we got a problem with Kelly," so that's one problem.
Dangling thread out there.
One problem down, 2 to go. Now, what do you think the problems are? He's the 2 things left.
He's got to kill Ruby, 1, and he's got to save Kelly. 2 problems.
Yeah, but what about What about he's going to restaff up the hardware store?
He's got to restock. You restock overnight. It's fine.
Are you sure that restocking the hardware store isn't number 1 and 2, and then later on he's going to think about maybe bringing back Kelly or killing Ruby? All right, if you say so.
Customers always first.
And then we see Kelly again with
this
her
is Kelikaya. This isn't Kelly. This is Kelikaya
with her overdubbed voice again. And
she's worried about these Dark Ones getting free because the Dark Ones hate Ruby and possibly hate Kaya herself.
Yeah, I don't know why, because she looks good and she's got a sexy accent.
But more important, the still living Zoe is there. And what do you think could be their possible evil plan?
Well, do you think they're going to stake her out like a goat, like in Jurassic Park? What do you think they're planning? Look. As far as I'm concerned, Zoe died already a couple episodes ago. You're the one who knew that she was going to live on, so you're the one that has to tell me what is her purpose.
Well, okay.
Yep.
Somehow, how do you solve this? If the Dark Ones hate Ruby and the Dark Ones are in the Rift, what solves it? You get Ruby into the Rift somehow, you close the Rift. The Dark Ones will kill Ruby because they hate her. Happy ending. Bob's your uncle. Let's go.
All right, and then what are they going to do with they got to get Kaya in there too, so they can get Kelly's body back? They got to do a Kelly swap.
Nah, Kaya can stay here.
Just like Face Off, they got to do a body swap instead of a face swap.
No, come on.
All right, so there is the episode. You still think that you got a 9, and I'm still going with my 6.5.
Ouch.
So that leads us to another important recurring segment of
entitled Zoe Lives. We count the ways Zoe is still alive when Catfish said she'd be dead 2 episodes ago.
That's a recurring that we'll talk about next week.
Oh.
For this week, we have to do our once again writer Bubba gives notes. Now listen, all season we have been workshopping different songs.
No, boy. You have been not workshopping like I told you to for one time.
And you have been, I don't know why, I've given you my best every single week. And you have been
What is it when your best isn't good enough?
Very, very disdainful. So, this is the special treat we have for you that I promised earlier. One of our extreme loyal listeners.
Ooh, a double L?
The aria of Susan's at Barbasoo
Love Barbasoo.
She wrote the lyrics for this week's Writer Bubba Gives Notes song. So listen, I want you to remember she's a loyal listener.
Okay.
And so obviously you're going to love this song no matter what. Okay. Now, she just gave me the words and not a tune, but I think I can figure out the tune from the words.
Oh, boy, okay.
So here it is.
I will just judge the words, not the tune.
Okay. Ryder Bubba's over there. Where? No time for a snack. Pear. Ryder Bubba's got notes. Yeah. Do-dee-do-dee-doo-doo-doo-ba-ba.
I'll say it's been the best one this season. Still not perfect. Aria of Susan's. We got to workshop that a bit.
No, it's perfect.
Get it in workshop.
It's perfect.
Okay.
All right. So what writer notes do you have this week, Bubba, for something that you thought was just one notch below perfect? You have really no notes. You're like, you know what? This time you outdid me.
What this episode did is what most screenwriters should just steal. And I call it the competing problems problem.
Okay.
Meaning that you have 2 problems happening at the exact same time, and both problems are hurting the other problem. It wasn't perfect. Once again, not perfect episode. Close. Fun episode. But this example of the problem wasn't perfect, but it's a good idea. So what do I mean by that? Ash is doing something, and he desperately needs Pablo to pull him out of the rift when he's ready. Pablo has to kill this Deadite, has to take care of this, or there's no way he'll be able to open the rift. He opens the rift, this Deadite kills Brandy, it's all the trouble. So you have these 2 competing problems, and they're happening at the same time. So many movies have done this. Sadly, they've done it better. 2 examples I'll use, I'll try to go to the popular routes. One of the first movies that I think everybody thinks of when they think of this problem is Back to the Future. Think about the end of Back to the Future.
Okay.
Back to the Future requires the
Out of time.
The DeLorean in Back to the Future, the time machine, has to hit this frigging spot right when lightning strikes the clock. So what has to happen? He's got to start the DeLorean at a set time, hit this spot at a set time, be going 88 miles per hour. Like, there's so much specificity that has to be happening right there.
Right.
But then, of course, what happens once he gets to the spot? The car stalls, and it won't start. And it's like, oh no, this is happening. At the same time, back where the lightning's about to strike, what has happened? A branch has fallen in this storm and knocked the cable that leads from the courthouse down to the place where the DeLorean wire is going to get struck, and disconnected the cable. So Doc Brown, boy, I'm really spoiling Back to the Future. If you haven't seen it, folks, go watch Back to the Future. Great movie.
Oh, boy.
So the DeLorean is stalled on one side. The Doc Brown has to reconnect the cable is happening on the other side. And both of these have a ticking clock, meaning it has to happen at the exact right point or everything's effed. There, you have the two problems. It's a specific problem. Both has to happen at the same time. I won't go into quite as much detail, but if you think about the ending of the movie Inception, about how, okay, wait, we can't do this until somebody on this other layer of dream logic, on this other upside-down world, does this. So it's like everybody has to be in sync in time, but if you look at each dream layer, there's always some problem. Like, okay, on this problem, the psyche is sending out people to shoot us and kill us on the snow realm. You go up one level to like the hotel level, somebody's getting attacked there in a weightless thing. If you go up one level, the van is falling. Once the van hits the water, everybody will wake up. So like all these things have to happen at the same time. And it's a great writer structure. So many screenwriters need to build these kind of time constraints and kind of multiple problems happening in different areas for them all to come together at once for it to work. I feel like because there wasn't a quote-unquote set time constraint on this episode, episode 8, Rifting Apart, didn't do it as well as those others. So how would writer Bubba have done it specifically? The Delta drives over the Dark One. The Dark One disappears because it doesn't want to get hit by the Delta. They run into the basement. They're like, okay, Pablo, you got to get us. They needed the kind of fear and the trouble happening closer to each other. They needed that Dark One to show up again in the basement. So they're like, okay, Pablo, open the rift. The Dark One's coming. Similarly, Pablo, the timing of when he killed that evil Deadite, they didn't do enough cross-cutting to really show how, Pablo, if you don't get downstairs, they're going to be killed in the rift. And then the Deadite, as fun as I love the paint-mixing death, it needed to be tied to the downstairs area in one realm or another, and it needed to just have that time constraint. It needed more tenseness for the two competing problems to suddenly work. I thought it worked okay.
I mean, once they get into the hardware store
in the netherworld, you mean?
Yeah, there's no one chasing them.
Right. So they needed kind of the two things to happen more congruently. And then this would have been a great example rather than just a good example of that writer problem. And that's Bubba giving notes. Hell yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah.
A great segment by a great man.
Ryder Bubba's over there.
Oh, no.
Where?
Okay.
No time for a snack. Pears. Ryder Bubba's got notes. Yeah. Do-dee, 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 do, ba-ba. So that was it. So good.
Thank you so much.
All right. So there's only one thing left before we conclude this week's episode of the podcast.
I just got to say my Twitter handle. It's
no, not yet. Not yet. We need to do our case of the week because it's Ash versus Evil Dead
versus
Bubba
versus
Catfish. We have to do the Bubba versus Catfish. So every week we have a court case pitting the sneaky, underhanded wiles of Bubba against the crusading forthrightness of Catfish. So first, let's talk about last week's court case. We got some
great
feedback.
Court case last week. Let's hear it.
Patman 23.
Well, remind everybody what was our court week.
Yeah, tell us what our court case. Well, our court case last week was
nature versus
nurture. That did the ashy nashy,
the Xerox ash.
Yeah. Kinko's Ash.
Right.
Was his growth and personality an example of what's more important in shaping someone's personality, nature or nurture?
Yep.
And so I was on the nature side.
Terrible side.
It was. And
I was on the nurture side.
Right. Susan Monk says, it seems like Ashy Nashy's murderous core is a result of his supernatural magical will that I would characterize as part of his nature. Aha.
Uh-oh.
His dark side was an innate part of Ruby's creation that just needed a splash of Ash's DNA, more nature, to take physical form. He began murdering humans moments after he was born. Ruby encourages this side of her demon spawn, nurturing his evil tendencies. Yes, he did inherit Ashy/'s rugged good looks, but that was only a small percentage of his nature. The majority of his nature and all of his nurture.
Yeah, nurture.
Were due to Ruby.
Oh, wow.
This juror notes that both Bubba and Catfish are correct. Both nature and nurture made Ashy Nashy who he was. My final ruling goes to nurture because, nature.
Wait.
Because.
Oh, you said nurture.
No,
that's a typo. That was autocorrect. She goes to nurture because.
As Patman states, well, I was going to put this. Supernature is the key ingredient over nurture, and thus the baby born with a chainsaw hand could have not turned out any other way. So that's one vote for me.
No.
And Pat Patman says this was quite a complicated and dramatic court case.
Okay.
Fine arguments on both sides.
Only on one side.
Surprise appearance of Gladys's child of indeterminate age. I had a lot to think about when it comes to the argument of nature versus nurture. He says Ashy Nash is a product of magic after all. Everything about him is unnatural.
All right, unnatural.
His accelerated growth is organic chainsaw hand, his ability to speak English, and to have some shared awareness of the original. When Ruby the Dark One created the Ash analog, her magical will caused some of this to happen. Is this what we call nurture? There's not all of it here because he came onto my side.
Is that all nurture?
He said nature.
He says
this is not
all
he
nature.
said he was on my side.
He says we call nurture. Hold on.
You cut some of this out because I saw him on Twitter
where
he came down on my side.
All right, go to the Facebook page. It's on the Facebook page, facebook.com/double P podcast. The word double, the single letter P, the word podcast plural. What are you talking about?
You are ignoring something that he said on Twitter because this is not fair. Is it okay
if I read the last three words of his note? We call nurture. So therefore, he means he and Mrs. Batman. That's 2-1. I win.
No,
nurture
this is not true. I will find out at some point.
God.
He came onto my side.
Not at all. Why do you lie?
You completely lie. I can't believe this. You're the one who puts together these notes, and I know that he was on my side.
I know you can't believe I'm the one one who isn't the host who has to put together the notes.
He said he agreed with me, and yes, that's not in here.
What do you mean?
This is horrible. All right, well, you know what? Let's do this week's court case.
We should go. The court case is who did Batman agree with me?
It's me.
Nurture.
The court case this week is...
God, I've never seen such cheating.
What is better?
Nurture.
A New York minute or a Branson minute? Ladies and gentlemen, that is the court case for this week.
All right. First and foremost, though, I am going to read all of Batman's stuff because it came from Facebook, facebook.com/double P podcast, and you are going to bow down to your lying sack of crap. Never seen such just true evil cheating. There were 5 comments on this post. Batman, would we call that nurture? It seems like nurturing would be impossible without the evil Ash's supernatural core. To allow Ruby to imprint the necessary vestiges of the original Ash's personality so he could fool Ash's daughter Brandy. So this is the case. I believe that nurture, or rather supernatural nurture, is the key ingredient over nature. Attorney Bubba almost had me with his eloquent arguments, but this ghost beater had arguments of his own to agree with Bubba. The end.
No, that is a lie. I'm going, you did not. This is a complete lie. That is a complete lie. All right, we'll go to this court case. Patman 23, you've been slandered.
All rise. The case of New York Minute versus Branson Minute is now in session. Defense Attorney Catfish, state your case.
Your Honor, thank you. I can only hope that in the future that defense attorney Bubba will read the entire judgment of the court and not just cherry pick pieces that support his case. Your Honor.
Yes?
One of the books that has influenced my life greatly is the book
Cat in the Hat.
Catch 22 by Joseph Heller. Something that's always stuck with me is one of the characters in Catch 22 said he liked it when life was boring because it seemed to pass a lot slower. And so when life is boring, it seems like your life's a lot longer. So, Your Honor, I would say a Branson minute is better because unlike New York's the hurdy-gurdy, rush, fast-paced, where life just passes you by in the blink of an eye, and perhaps you get stabbed in the left thigh just for saying something askance to somebody. That a more casual approach to life, like we experience here in the South, like we do in Branson, where we sit on the porch on the veranda. We have some sweet tea that also sometimes we drop in some other things in there, Your Honor, just spice them up a little bit. And
Ice?
No, Your Honor, something that like moonshine, Your Honor, something slightly illegal. And then we go out to the field, Your Honor, and we pick one of those long stalks. And we bring it back to the porch, Your Honor. In fact, sometimes we don't even need to pick it, Your Honor. We just send the youngins out there and say, get us a good stalk. So we send the youngins out and they bring it back. And then, Your Honor, we just put that stalk in the side of our
Your
mouth.
Your Honor, is he ever going to get to the point? This seems more like a paid advertisement for Branson, Missouri, Your Honor. I thought this was a court case about which is a better minute.
Good point, defense attorney Bubba.
You see what happened there? You see what happened there, Your Honor? You see, because he's used to the more faster, brusher lifestyle, defense attorney Bubba can't sit back and enjoy the sounds of the crickets, or in the summertime when the fireflies go out and we send the youngins out there with jaws with holes poked in the top, and we have them catch the fireflies, and then we put them next to our sweetened iced tea with a little bit of liquor in it, Your Honor, and we just sit back and we enjoy life, Your Honor. We take it all in. Unlike defense attorney Bubba, who's just always rushing to and fro and can't even sit back to enjoy a decent argument, Your Honor. That's what life is about, Your Honor, to sit back and enjoy. And the fact is, when you have a Branson minute, which is unrushed, and you can just hear
it's definitely not rushed.
The rustle of the wind, Your Honor, as it goes across. It goes across. Your neighbor's wife she's hanging up her dry, Your Honor, and the wind rustles in it, and it brushes her skirt up a little bit, Your Honor. These are the things that are most important in life, and so I say, Your Honor, the Branson minute is the best minute, Your Honor.
Court case is now over.
Wait a minute. What, Your Honor? What do you mean it's over?
Well, we ran out of time. This courtroom is booked for a different case after this.
Your Honor, wait a minute. Wait, that doesn't seem fair at all.
Your Honor, I agree. He should get a minute to reply.
All right. 1 New York minute for your reply.
He's the defense attorney,
Bailiff Rusty.
Oh, Rusty.
Sign him in. Start the clock.
It's me, Bailiff Rusty. I'm walking over to... Get over here, Bailiff, get over here with it. I'm coming. My time is clicking. Hurry up, Rusty, run.
Now, Bailiff Rusty knows all about the Branson minute, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you, defense attorney Bubba? Yes, that's me. Get to the point. Do you promise to uphold the meaning of... Your Honor, please. I don't... I'll take... Actually,
Your
put me
Honor,
on the clock. Put me on the clock. Put me on the clock, Your Honor.
Why is Bubba Russian your honorable nephew, Bailiff Rusty, Your Honor?
It's me, Bailiff Rusty.
Yeah, Bailiff Rusty is a man of the people, Your Honor. I've sat on the porch with him several times. He's drunk a lot of that moonshine, Your Honor. That's why he's not as sharp as he used to be.
Your Honor, I'm going to take 60 seconds, and I want you to time me, Catfish.
Oh, all right, I'll do that, even though I'm not an official of the court, because Rusty's minute is a Branson minute. You tell me when to start my timer. Wait, am I starting now?
Start the clock.
All right, here it goes. Started.
Grew up in a town that was famous as a place of movie scenes. Noises always loud, there are sirens all around, the streets are mean. If you can make it here, I can make it anywhere, that's what they say. Seeing my face in the lights and the marquee down Broadway. Hear it for New York. Concrete jungles where dreams are made of. There's nothing you can't do. Now you're in New York. Those streets will make you feel brand new. Big lights will inspire you. Hear it for New York, New York, New York, yeah. Let me tell you something. The top attraction in Branson, according to TripAdvisor, the Titanic Museum. The Titanic was never in Branson. You know where it was sailing to? It was sailing to New York. Yes, the defense rests.
Wow, Yana.
Quiet.
I'm not sure why I even bothered to. I think the defense attorney made my case for me.
Brits, if you want to live in Branson.
No, that's not
if
the
you
case.
want to live in Branson.
That's not the case, Your Honor. I want to make this very clear, Your Honor.
Vote for Prosecutor
What's better,
Catfish.
a Branson minute or a New York minute?
If you would rather spend your time in New York
that's
City.
That's not the case, Your Honor.
Tourism capital of the world.
Your Honor, it's
then vote for defense attorney Bubba.
Your Honor, it's very clear what this case
Thank
is
you,
for.
Your Honor.
Wow. What's better?
What an incredible case.
A New York minute or a Branson minute?
Oh, my God. What's better, New York City or Branson, Missouri?
Do you want to live a rush life or do you want to sit back and enjoy yourself?
Everybody voted for me. It's incredible. Wow, Catfish. That wasn't worth it, but I'm so glad we did that. And that
Are you kidding me? I feel like, and I don't know whether I'm going to come out, what end I'm going to come out on.
We know what end you came out of.
No. Is that, oh my goodness, I'm being buzzed again. No.
Yes.
Your Honor, I don't know.
Your Honor, we left. The courtroom was closed.
I don't know what case I want to know who's people going to come on my side or not. But I feel like of all the cases I've argued this year, that was my finest argument. Again, I don't know whether it's going to be successful.
I feel it wasn't your most successful argument, and I think that should be the court case this week. Was that Catfish?
That could be next week.
No, this week.
Depending on. All right, so
next week's
episode, Judgment Day.
Oh man, I love the Terminator.
Oh, yeah, good. There's a new Terminator. And so there's a new Judgment Day. So that will be episode 9. Folks, the sad news is it really seems like we're only going to have 2 more episodes of Ash vs. Evil Dead.
No.
Hold on.
Hold on. For one
Don't let go and join us next week for possibly the penultimate Ash
versus
Evil Dead
versus
Bubba
versus
Catfish
versus at Fit and Trim. That's FITTENDRM at Fit and Trim.